Leaving the UK is a trending topic at the moment. There's thousands of videos of people ranting and complaining about how bad the UK is, but they aren't actually leaving. But I am. Hi, I'm Jay, I'm 48 years old and I've lived in the UK for most of my life. This video will hopefully help anyone who's thinking about relocating. The first part I explain why I'm leaving, and the second part is really about the research I've done and my helpful tips. So my normal videos are about health and wellness, but if enough of you comment below and you want me to update you on my journey, then I'm happy to make a separate series on that, as well as continuing with my normal topics. Obviously, none of this is legal advice. I don't have kids or a job that ties me to the UK, so I'm lucky I can work from anywhere. I guess the idea of leaving is not totally foreign to me, as I've studied in France and I've lived and worked in Spain and Italy during my 20s and early 30s, and I speak languages as well. However, there's a big difference between leaving your country when you're 48 compared to when you were 23, as you had no worries back then and hardly any belongings. I've always liked the idea of retiring somewhere sunny when I'm older, so in a way I'm just bringing that forward. So here are my reasons for leaving. So a healthier lifestyle appeals to me. I want to be near a beach so I can do grounding, swim in the sea, have fresh air. I want to be outside cycling and do more stuff in sunnier weather, getting vitamin D from the sun. I like the idea of being able to grow my own food. It's generally about having a better quality of life. So to give you an idea how important health and wellness is to me, I'll show you my case, which is almost packed and 1/3 is taken up with a water distiller. Yep, I'm nuts. So I want to live somewhere where I look around at the town and I think, oh, I like how they've done that or planted those flowers. I want to be happy about how my tax money is being spent and feel good and proud of where I live. The UK was once a world power, but unfortunately it's going down the toilet very quickly. I don't want this video to be negative, and I just briefly want to explain the situation in the UK, as most of my followers are in other countries. So we have high taxes on everything from owning a TV, a car, to dying, high inflation, high poverty. Every government has been intent on increasing uncontrolled immigration. We have a two-tier justice system, high crime. You can easily buy a machete and walk around with it. No police presence unless it's to extort money from you with a speeding fine, or you attend some demonstration against the official government narrative, and all of a sudden there will be hundreds of policemen with guns waiting to lock you up. Free speech has gradually been taken away from us. If the government doesn't like something you post on social media, they will happily put you in jail. There's no funding to fix roads and remove graffiti and keep towns clean, and all this has created a lot of social tension and an underlying anger. People are just doing what they like. I've witnessed so many people walking out of shops without paying, gangs riding around snatching phones, as there's a kind of social breakdown happening and people want to vent their anger. In my view, the next 5 years or so will be critical. Either the UK becomes a failed third world like state, or some kind of drastic movement appears and deep reform happens to get rid of the deep state and the corruption and restore liberties. Now, none of that negative stuff means you cannot live a happy life in the UK and you must leave. It's just a backdrop, and for me it's a clear sign of the way things are heading. It's also important to remember that the UK is a poor country attached to a rich city. London has bankrolled the whole country for years, but the average salary in the UK is lower than that of the poorest US state. So the catalyst for me was last summer when I was speaking to a girl I went to uni with who said she's done with the UK and she's moving to Dubai. At the time I was like, no way, I can't believe you're doing this. So many young people and entrepreneurial people don't see a future here, and the official stats are that every 45 minutes a millionaire leaves the UK. I'm not a millionaire yet, unfortunately, but since that conversation I did start to notice how many people are talking about leaving. So here are the tips that I've kind of gained through lots and lots of research over many months. So how do you choose a place to move to? So all that stuff about crime and inflation is happening in many Western countries. So don't think moving to Ireland or Canada is going to be any better. Just because you like Italian food or you've had great holidays in Spain doesn't mean that's where you should move to. Set your priorities first of all. You need to look at the tax system in various countries, as you don't want your tax burden to actually increase if that's the thing you're escaping from. If you have kids, you need to look at the education system. You probably want to check the crime rates. I speak Spanish. I studied it and I lived there in my 20s and 30s, but I didn't choose Spain as I'm self-employed and I'd have to pay €350 per month social security even if I don't earn a penny. You see how it's not about romantic notions of holidays. You have to educate yourself. That takes time. My biggest advice is to get in touch with professional immigration advisors or lawyers or tax lawyers and pay for consultations with them. I found that absolutely invaluable, and I saved myself weeks of research and time and heartache. Write lists of questions for them so you get complete clarity. When you think you've decided on somewhere, go and spend a month there, see how you feel. If you like the way of life, the food, the supermarkets, how easy it is to find work, whether the locals are friendly, all those types of things are really important. So I decided on Gibraltar as the tax is lower than mainland Spain and the UK. There's hardly any crime, there's hardly any traffic, it's clean, it's small, it's easy to get around. I can cross the border and drive along the Costa del Sol and visit lovely places, nice beaches, nice hot weather. It's not cheap, but you can't have everything. But you set your priorities of what matters most for you. Maybe you'd be happy to pay more tax. Last November, I spent a month there and I had ups and downs, but generally I liked it. And one thing that really made my mind up, and this sounds funny, but it was seeing dog owners walking their dog, and they all have to carry these little squeezy plastic bottles of water to clean up in case their dog pees on a building or a tree. I've never seen that anywhere. I love the fact that people seem to care about their streets and everything being clean. So I love that no one is going to steal your bike or burgle your flat or mug you in the street. Crime is so low, and it's a relief to be able to walk around anytime, day or night, and feel confident and safe. I realized when I was there that they were my priorities. I viewed lots of apartments. I looked at different developments in different areas. Some have swimming pools, some have gyms, some are in the middle of all the noise and the traffic, while others are more quiet. I wouldn't have known about the traffic noise and important things like that if I was in the UK looking on the internet for a flat. That's why it's essential to be there and do your research. Look at adding a break clause of 6 months to your rental agreement in case it doesn't work out and you want to leave. One of my biggest fears is being stuck somewhere, being miserable but unable to leave because I'm bound by a 12-month contract. Next really important thing is the timing of when you want to leave the UK. You need to check when the tax year for the country you intend to move begins. So the UK runs April to April, Spain runs January to December, and Gibraltar July to June. Why does that matter? If you spend most of the tax year in the UK, then say in February, for example, you say, oh, I'm off to live in another country. HMRC will still see you as a tax resident of the UK, and you'll be liable to pay tax in the UK for that year, even if you go and settle in a new country. HMRC only have 3 instances where they will allow you to split their tax year between the UK and another country. One of them is if your partner gets a job and you have to move abroad with them, but none of those applied to me. The cleanest and easiest way is to leave the UK at the start of the tax year. So I'm leaving on the 5th of April, not the 6th, as that would be 1 day counted in the UK. The other factor about timing is the weather. So during the cold months, it's a no-brainer to move to a sunny, warmer climate. But take now, for example, in the UK, it's spring, the sun's out, the flowers are blooming. So if your motivation was just better weather, then that choice becomes less clear and you can lose enthusiasm. So it may be better to make the move during the winter. Becoming non-resident. So in an ideal world, you'd be able to move abroad and start a new life, but still be able to come home and visit your family and friends in the UK whenever you like. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out like that. When you leave the UK, you have to do a ties test, which calculates the number of ties you have to the UK. A tie can be a property you own, or if you have a business or children going to school, or a place you can stay if you come back. The more ties you have, the less time you're allowed to spend in the UK. For me, I have 2 ties. That means I can only return to the UK for 90 days. If you stay longer than 90 days, it triggers residency. The other part of this is that if you go to Dubai or some tax-free place and you return to the UK to live before 5 years, then you have to pay any tax you avoided to HMRC. You have to stay out of the UK for a full 5 years. If you're trying to sell your business or avoid capital gains tax, you have to stay away for 5 years. Otherwise, when you come back, they will expect that tax. So 5 years is a really big period of time, and it's hard to even comprehend what you're going to be doing or feeling in 6 months, let alone a year or 2 or 5 years. My only advice is to take it a month at a time. If everything blows up in your face and it all goes wrong, take it easy on yourself. If you have to come back to the UK, don't beat yourself up. Be positive, plan to the best of your ability, but it's okay if your venture doesn't plan out like you wanted. I'm not going to feel bad if I have to come back. It's not a failure because at least I tried. Anyone who gloats or tells you, I knew you'd be back, is not really a friend. You don't want those type of people around you anyway. Deadlines. From a personal perspective, I would say leave sooner rather than later. If you give yourself, for example, 4 months, what happens is that people keep saying, when you leaving, when you leaving, which gets tired very fast. But you also feel like you have loads of time to organize everything later. I'll do it later, but in fact you don't, and that will come around really quickly. So set a deadline that's not too far ahead. Also, I found the longer I left it, the more doubts creep in, and you may end up not going at all, as you can lose the excitement. I came back from Gibraltar in December and I'm leaving in 2 days on the 5th of April. So during that time, I've ummed and ahed, I've gone back and forward. I said, I'm not going, I'm definitely going, I'm not sure. Just try to make a decision, then focus on the details like housing or flights, etc. So this last few days, as the date draws closer, I found myself doubting myself. Why am I doing this? I'm too old. I can't believe I'm doing this. It's too late for me. I won't be able to hack this on my own. I'm going to miss my family. What if I hate it? Lots of last minute doubts. I think it's natural, but don't listen to what others think. Just do what you decided months back when you had the enthusiasm and you were there in the sunshine, living the dream. Again, if you're doing this with someone, you can support each other. If you're on your own, it's a little bit more difficult. The other thing about deadlines is the UK Labour government, who are getting very desperate. Last year, they were talking about an exit tax. Anyone who wanted to escape their regime would have to pay 50% tax or some figure on everything they own before they can leave the country. That was one of the motivating factors for me, but it never actually happened at the last budget in November 24. But I can clearly see how they would implement this as the economy is faltering and they need to grab more cash from citizens. So just bear in mind these kind of political ideas. Passports and visas. If you have grandparents or family from another country, which means you can apply for a foreign passport, then 100% do that ASAP. Even if you're not thinking of going to that country, it will open doors for you and give you more options. You don't have to give up your UK residency if you're not sure. You can spend a few months in a country as a tourist without applying for residency there. But as I mentioned, if you don't leave the UK tax system, then HMRC will demand tax even if you're abroad. So I hope this has helped you, but I want to finish on one thought from a lady who worked in a hospice, and she had hundreds of conversations with dying people. And she said people regret the things they did not do, not the things they actually did. So I think if you feel it's right, if your intuition tells you you want to do it, go ahead, do it. If this has helped you, please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. As I say, I normally make videos about health and wellness, and I'm going to continue doing that. But if you want me to continue with my journey updates, then I can do that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when I'll be in a different country.